So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our presentation today. Today we have Achev, which is a nonprofit organization. I work for the Accelerating Career Advancement Program, and we also have our guest speaker, Dwight Baker, who's here from PEGASUS Institute, and he's part of the Mentorship Program. He'll be discussing about the Mentorship Program for internationally trained health professionals. Again, it's a webinar format. If you have any questions, please do use the Q&A located at the bottom of your screen to ask your questions, and we'll answer it at the end of the presentation. I just wanted to explain we're both from two different organizations, speaking about two different topics, but both related to internationally trained health professionals. So I'll give it over to Dwight.
Okay, thank you, Shabana. All right, just permit me to share my screen with
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Dwight Baker, and I'm the mentorship coordinator at PEGASUS Institute. And of course, I'll be telling you a little bit later on about PEGASUS Institute and what we're really about. I'd like to also extend gratitude to Shabana and Achev by extension for choosing to partner with us in this endeavor to, of course, bring you this information about our programs and, of course, to see how best we can serve you as potential clients. I'll be discussing a bit of background information about PEGASUS Institute and the IEHP program at PEGASUS, and how you may get involved as an internationally educated healthcare professional. All right, so if you hear me use the abbreviation IEHP throughout the discussion, then just know that I'm referring to internationally educated healthcare professionals. And our program is developed for IEHPs specifically in Canada. Now, the PEGASUS Institute draws its inspiration from the symbolism Pegasus, the winged horse of Greek mythology, representing qualities such as inspiration, imagination, knowledge, strength, and justice. And when we look at this symbolism, it aligns with the Institute's mission to enhance global health and promoting peace, sustainability, and equity for all. The Institute was established from a series of biannual conferences in 2014, and arising from that, it was acknowledging, of course, that ongoing need for initiatives addressing global health challenges through a holistic lens. These strategic pillars that you're seeing here, on which the Institute was established, are exemplified in our initiatives, collaborative endeavors, in regions impacted by war, political unrest, and man-made health events impacting vulnerable groups in certain regions. Now, the strategic vision also embellishes the aforementioned pillar, and as a non-profit organization, non-governmental organization as well, we engage in collaborative knowledge exchange, network formation, and research activities that address that interconnection between peace, environmental sustainability, and health for all. Now, we facilitate interlinkages between by engaging individuals, and these individuals are professionals, academics, students, young professionals, those persons, especially with lived experiences, government officials, researchers from over the world. We also use an interdisciplinary, multi-sectoral, interconnected approach. And in that, we will have discussions with organizations, be it nonprofit, charitable groups, local or international. And in that approach, of course, we'll have discussions with public or private academic institutions, government bodies, such as those within ministers of government or departmental bodies, public and private entities, and of course, philanthropists to fund some of these initiatives, and donor institutions as well. At Pegasus Institute, we have a multilingual international network. So we have programs in English, there are programs in French. So you'll hear of the Pegasus Francophone Network. And there is also the Latin American network as well. And that is our Spanish arm of the Pegasus Institute. We create inclusive programs for people of different races, ethnicities, ages, genders, sexual identities, abilities, and socioeconomic status. And of course, we engage in sharing of resources, knowledge, experiences, and education. And throughout this summer, we had, of course, McGill University and Pegasus Institute collaborating there with the Summer Institute in Peace, Health, and Sustainability. Now, as I go through, Shabana mentioned earlier that you can pose your questions in the Q&A. So if it is that there's anything that I mentioned here that you have questions about that you would like to have answers to, please free to put your questions in the Q&A and I'll be happy to respond to those after I'm finished here. Now, there are some other activities or events that we do have either in the pipeline or past events. And some of those I'll not go into a lot of details about them, but we have interactive events, educational activities, research and publications, and policy development as well. Those you will see some of that information on our website, on the Pegasus Institute parenting website, as well as the IEHP website. And some of those activities, we look at Peace Professionalism Project. There's also the rebuilding of medical and public health education in Gaza through innovation and mentorship. There's the Afghan mental health and psychoeducation in Canada. We also have the World Health Organization Academy and Peace through Health program. And I also mentioned the McGill Summer Institute on Peace, Global Health and Sustainability earlier. And there is also Kenyan pilot project to develop an interdisciplinary ecosystem approach to the sex for fish. And for those of you who are so concerned with public health, you may have come across this term sex for fish in a lot of the African and also East Asian countries as well. And there's also a symposium on extractionism. And this one we will have later on in this month. I think that is the 17th or 18th of August, thereabout. You can get that information on our website as well. Now, the IEHP program itself, Pegasus Institute has partnered with the Canadian Medical Foundation to reduce barriers for IEHPs and increase, of course, their chances of reaching their goals of practicing in their professions in Canada. Building on the vision and mission of global health and well-being and peace, arose this need to support forcefully displaced IEHPs. And within our initial conversations, there was a lot of talks about refugee IEHP especially. And when you think of forcefully displaced individuals, you're thinking of persons, of course, leaving their home country for whatever reason, be it for family safety or for some other security reasons, have to leave their home country, some of them coming to Canada, not necessarily having those documentations that they need to prove that they belong to the specific profession that they were practicing in their home country. Now, these persons, sometimes at the height of their profession, coming into Canada, of course, realizing or being hit with that hard reality of starting over. I mean, like the legend of the Phoenix, many are open to the idea of starting over. We're strong and resilient. I know that much, being, of course, an IEHP myself. But, and we consider, of course, ourselves, we have much to contribute to that whole innovation and best practices in Canada. But there are many systemic barriers and gray areas within these licensed pathways, increasing the need for guidance from a more experienced author to, of course, increase our competitiveness or just the overall competitiveness of IEHPs with locally trained healthcare workers in Canada, be it competitiveness in national board exams, in the job market, matching processes, and you have a lot of matching services across Canada, be it the practice readiness assessments or PACE, whatever it is that you go through. All of these activities are geared towards improving your competitiveness and increasing your opportunity, your likeliness of integrating. Now, with the kind support of the Canadian Medical Foundation, I can say the program is free for mentees who join the program at PEGASUS Institute. There are no fees associated with the program. The PEGASUS IEHP Mentorship Program is designed to support internationally educated healthcare professionals in successfully integrating into the Canadian healthcare system. We provide a structured framework for mentorship that fosters professional development, cultural competency, career advancement, and in our focus, of course, we look at facilitating the smooth transition of IEHPs into the Canadian healthcare workforce, providing guidance on career planning, networking, professional growth, enhancing the understanding and adaptation to the cultural nuances within the Canadian healthcare system, and enabling our IEHPs that opportunity to network with experienced mentors who, of course, will share their expertise, experiences, and best practice within the or for the Canadian healthcare system. Now, the PEGASUS Institute began partnership with the Canadian Medical Foundation in 2022, and there are virtual consultations, focus group sessions, and other activities which followed. Now, the program is informed by IEHPs, and in 2023, we had notable events which included North American Refugee Health Conference, pre-conference symposium, and the IEHP Symposium and development of the IEHP Resource Portal. The IEHP program envisioned by an IEHP and is also being developed by IEHPs. In March of 2024, we launched the mentorship program with our first group mentoring session. And this recording, if you want to view the recording of this session, you can access that on our website, internationalhealthprofessionals.ca. A second group mentoring session was held during May, and during this group mentoring session, we launched our IEHP Resource Hub. We strategically engage with IEHPs in events such as the Canadian Association for Health Services and Policy Research Conference 2024, the inaugural IMG conference in 2024, as well as individuals or institutions in strategic policy spaces, developing systems approaches such as the North American Refugee Health Conference, which of course ended in August of 2024. We continue to evaluate, improve, and expand the mentorship program at the PEGASUS Institute to include the following components, which I'll go through with you now. So you've heard mention of the group mentoring sessions, and for these, we have a series of webinars and collaborative discussions on common integration challenges, present workable solutions, individuals may explore strategies for networking, how to increase their chances of getting matched in CARM. So we take those broad brush topics that we find persons have challenges with, and then we will look or search for those persons who are expert in those areas and have them come and discuss how to get around those challenges with our IEHPs that we have within our group. So the aim of all of this, of course, is to increase the competitiveness of our IEHPs within the Canadian healthcare system as they go up for jobs, they go up for licensure, and all of those related activities. We also have a one-on-one mentoring session, mentoring program, and with the one-on-one mentoring program here, we provide personalized mentoring or mentorship focusing on individual goals and challenges. The aim, of course, is to lessen or remove those systemic barriers and unique challenges, enabling individuals to contribute to healthcare development in a supportive environment. Mentors and mentees are carefully matched based on their professional background and areas of interest and specific needs. So of course, if it is that you're interested in family medicine and we have a mentor who is practicing in family medicine, then we will try to match you with that mentor specifically. Or if it is that we have someone whose background is Arabic and that is your native tongue, then we will try to match you with that person if that is a preference that you might consider helpful in, of course, your mentor that you're seeking. Now, this ensures that we have meaningful and productive mentoring relationship. We also have a peer mentoring group, and for peer mentoring support, this takes place through our WhatsApp and the IEHP website discussion forum. Here we foster a community of shared experiences and mutual assistance. IMGs can ask questions, get answers, share their lived experiences, strategies, and outcomes, helping their peers to navigate that system to getting a job in healthcare and, of course, completing the process of licensure in Canada. And finally, there is the online resource hub. And with the online resource hub, very intuitive, IHPs can, of course, use this website. It provides a wide range of integration resources to help with key, and it also focuses on those key pathways that persons are interested in, giving you information that you would normally have to go through a lot of other platforms to get, and sometimes being confused in the process. The whole aim of the IEHP Resource Hub is to remove that confusion and provide a sense of one-stop shop for our IEHPs using the online resource platform. Now, in terms of our mentor-mentee engagement in the program, we look at an overall time from March to November of 2024 for our first cohort. And specific to our one-on-one mentoring program requires a commitment time of minimum 4 months or 8 hours of engagement, whichever comes first. Now that is minimum time. Now, if it is that the mentee believes that they have attained their goal based on their initial assessment, they can, of course, have that communication with their mentor and they can choose to disembark from the program, or the mentor may decide to disembark from that mentor-mentee relationship, depending on whether the mentee has attained the goal that they set out in that initial mentee assessment. Within the program, of course, there is a monthly checking that is done to ensure that persons who are in the program are actively engaged and that you are indeed making use of the mentors that you are matched with within the program. If it is that you're in the program, you're not engaged with the mentor, not using the services of the mentor, then there's a possibility that that mentor may be reassigned to someone else in the program who requires mentorship. The hallmark of this program is that it is individualized to the need of the mentor, of the mentee. All right. So you set your time, you set your preferences, and there are other metrics that you can look at based on your need for personal and professional development and integration into the Canadian healthcare system. Some of the things that we look at, or some of the metrics that we have so far, one of them, you have system navigation, and this we're looking at the Canadian healthcare system. There's also networking, and when we look at navigating the Canadian healthcare system, we from our initial assessments, we have some positive outcomes on attendance at, say, orientation sessions and workshop. You look at majority of those respondents, unfortunately, do not understand some of the regulatory requirements for practice, and the outcomes were even worse pertaining to their ability to connect with local healthcare institutions or organizations. So when you look at these graphs, what we are aiming for is to convert most of these to these purple bars and have less of these red bars that you see popping up within these graphs. In terms of that whole networking, when you look at career development and networking, most individuals were, say, 60% comfortable with adapting and effectively adjusting their CVs to the Canadian standards. However, majority were unable to identify opportunities to collaborate and or effectively integrate into clinical practice. For example, finding shadowing opportunities or observership within a healthcare system or a clinic setting. And so the program at PEGASUS Institute, of course, we try to provide our mentees with some of those opportunities. When you look at cultural diversity, participation in activities facilitating cultural competency and diversity, half of our participants engaged in activities with diverse patient populations. However, there is much work that is needed for other indicators within this domain. And so when you look again at this graph, of course, you're seeing still a lot of those red and blue bars, which we don't really want to see. Again, the aim is to convert our IEHPs to those green zones and those purple zones, which would consider, of course, the standard of attainment. And again, with this hallmark of the program, it's individualized based on the mentee's needs. So our standardized cohort metrics are triangulated against those individualized needs or goals that are established by the mentor-mentee pairs on initiation of that one-on-one mentoring program. And we take those and match them basically against those metrics to look at the success of the program overall, just to get an idea, of course, as to whether or not we are really providing something that is of value to our IEHPs that are engaging in the program. In wrapping up, I just want to point out that our next upcoming event, of course, will be looking at clinical career pathways beyond matching services, and practice readiness assessment. And for this one, so for or IMGs or pharmacists or nurses or dentists who are involved within the program or internationally trained, and you're wondering what are those other roles that you can engage in. We understand that matching services are very competitive. Practice readiness assessment, you have limited spaces. They're also quite competitive. And when you go into, when you look for even volunteering in some of these clinical facilities, trying to get in, it's also quite difficult for internationally educated healthcare professionals to get into some of these spaces. And so the questions remain, what can persons do to improve their competitiveness while they wait for all of these services? Our next webinar that will be on September 10th will be touching on some of those. Thank you very much. That's it for the PEGASUS Institute Mentorship Program. If you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A. I'll be very much happy to respond to those. Shabana,
Yes, thank
back
you.
to you.
There are a few questions in the Q&A. Do you want me to just read them out, or do you want to answer, like type the answers?
Uh, just one moment. Let me
Sure.
just take a look here. Okay. All right. So you can go ahead and read them out. That's fine.
Yeah. How can I get a mentorship from Pegasus?
Okay, so for the mentorship program, you have the QR code here on the screen. For the mentorship program, this will take you right to the mentorship page that you can scan and just go to the section that says for mentees, and you can review all of that information that is there. There's also the link for you to register for the program.
And does this program include pharmacists?
Yes, the program also includes pharmacists. And I will also say that I'm an internationally trained pharmacist. So yes, it does include pharmacists. The program is developed by IEHPs for all IEHPs.
So any healthcare profession can.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. And does your team also assist with inquiries related to PR applications for international physicians?
Okay, so for PR applications, that is not something that we will, I'll promise you will take on, but we will try as much as possible to link you to those organizations or institutions that deal with immigration resources to get you that assistance if you need it.
And what about physiotherapy?
For physiotherapy, that is also, you're also considered an internationally educated healthcare professional. Of course, we will welcome you. You just need to go on our website and fill out that Menti application.
And a midwife from Ghana, can they also get a mentor?
Oh, yes, that is also a part of our discussions. Current discussion yesterday with the executive director pertaining to the request I've been seeing from the midwives from our emails and our website. So yes, that is also available to you.
And does this program also include individuals who practice in the mental health field?
Individuals practicing in all fields in healthcare, once you're in Canada, yes, you can join the program.
So just a side question to that. What about a social worker? Would that be considered mental health? Like,
Social worker, that would also be considered under allied health and wellness, and yes, you would be included.
okay, great. And what are the fees?
There is no fee associated to joining the program as a mentee. The program is sponsored by the Canadian Medical Foundation, and all services offered through the PEGASUS Institute are free of charge.
Yep. And can you share the link for signing up? Sorry, I missed it. So the link is the QR code right there. So you can just scan that and it'll directly take you to the link.
That is
So
correct.
yeah, so scan the QR code. International public health experts. Yes, that would still fall under it.
Public health, yes, we do also have mentors who are working in alternate healthcare pathways and can also provide mentorship in that area.
And for those who are putting your questions in the chat, please use the Q&A because I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm just using the Q&A. And is the mentorship program paid?
Okay, so are you referring to payments as an individual in the program? If you're referring to, say, payment or stipend for individuals engaging in the program, no. The engagement in the program is voluntary. So for both mentors and mentees, engagement is voluntary. So there is no payment that is involved.
And for any questions related to financial assistance, I'm going to actually be talking about financial assistance for pharmacists, doctors, dentists, etc. In once we're done the Q&A. What comes next after the mentorship?
After the mentorship, there is a hope that, of course, you would have gotten a job in healthcare within your field, or you would have reached to a position where you are comfortable enough to navigate your way through the system towards licensure or completion of that process here in Canada.
And with what bridging programs can Pegasus Institute connect mentees who are IMGs?
Okay, so there is a variety of bridging program that we can connect you with. And some of those we will also be discussing in our upcoming webinar on September 10th. And those are also maybe paid program as well. And Shabana will also go through
Yeah.
funding or how you can access funding for those programs.
Mhm. And what is the scope of doing a mentorship?
The scope of doing a mentorship. Okay, so all right, I'm not really understanding that question quite clearly, but if what you're asking me exactly is related to the overall outcomes from the program, increase your networking opportunities, cultural diversity, and of course, overall integration into the Canadian healthcare system. I'll tell you for sure, coming from your country where you were known within your field. So I'll use my case as an example. Coming out of pharmacy school, I did not apply for a job. I was recruited after licensure by one of the top pharmaceutical firm on the island. You understand? So you have persons who will come for you. Here in Canada, you will find that you have to get to know persons within your field to be able to successfully land a career in your field that you want to get into. So networking, mentoring on a whole offers you that opportunity to expand your network for that cultural diversity and integration into the healthcare system so that you can attain your goal.
And is there a list of individual mentors and their profiles?
All right, so in terms of the mentors and their profile, we do have a list of mentors. In terms of the profiling, we collect profiling for the mentees and then we match and send that information out to the peers. The mentor and mentees can make a decision whether or not they want to be working together.
And is the mentorship like a workplace? And what is the duration of the program? How many hours a week is required as a commitment?
Okay, so there is no set hours in terms of weekly or duration. It is based on the needs of the mentee in the mentee mentor pair. The minimum requirement is for 4 months or 8 hours. If it is that the mentee believes that they haven't attained their goal in the program, After that minimum 8 hours of interaction or 4 months of interaction, they believe that they have not attained their goal, they can always ask for that time to be extended.
And is the list of mentors available publicly? Like, can they see the list?
No,
So they would have to register first and
you would
then.
have to register first into the program to be able to gain access to that information.
And again, the QR code is still on the screen. If you want to register, just scan the QR code. So now I'll just do a short presentation about the financial assistance we can provide. Dwight is still going to be here. So if you do have any questions about the mentorship program, please ask them in the Q&A and we'll answer them at the end.
Definitely. I'll also go through the Q&A and respond to those
Sure.
questions
Yes.
as
Thank
well.
you. Yeah. So I'm just going to share my screen and start my presentation. So my program is the Accelerating Career Advancement Program. I am part of Achev, which is a nonprofit organization. And this project is funded through the Government of Canada's Foreign Credential Recognition Loans Program. And we are in partnership with Meridian Credit Union. And I apologize for my voice because I have a little bit of a sore throat. So the objectives of our program is to facilitate the integration of internationally trained individuals into the Canadian labor market, support the process related to foreign credential assessment and recognition, facilitate the accessibility of a loan to internationally trained individuals, and follow the repayment of the loan. And we provide one-on-one career counseling over the lifetime of the program or the loan period. So who is eligible for our program? So basically anyone who is an internationally trained individual. All this means is you have education outside of Canada. So it could be a bachelor's, master's, PhD. Doesn't really matter as long as you have education outside of Canada, you qualify. And the second criteria is you must have residency status in Canada. So permanent resident, Canadian citizen, or conventional refugee. Unfortunately, we cannot assist refugee claimants until you have your hearing and you become a conventional refugee. It's just our funders' guidelines. So you must have residency status in Canada, must have education outside of Canada, and you must reside in Ontario because Meridian Credit Union, which is our financial institution, is located in Ontario. And you're an internationally trained individual seeking to having your credentials recognized in Canada or undertaking an alternative career or both. So I'll just give an example, an IMG who would like to go through the licensing process, but also wants to take like a sonographer course would qualify for an educational loan to take the course, as well as going through the licensing process in Canada. So you could be going into an alternative career or pursuing your long-term goals in Canada. So now we'll talk about the loan. Like I mentioned, we're partnered with Meridian Credit Union. That is our financial institution. And you can receive a loan to a maximum of $30,000. The interest rate is very competitive at this time. It's the lowest it's been in the last 3 years, and it is at 5.5% fixed interest rate. No credit history is required, meaning you could be a new immigrant to Canada. We've had individuals approved who are only in Canada only 2 months, not for 30,000, but for a lesser amount. But they will do a credit check. So if you've been in Canada 1 to 2 years, they will do a credit check. And I just have to stress, it is an educational loan, so repayment does start after 30 days. So there has to be some form of income to show that you can do the monthly payments. And if you're unemployed, that's okay. You just need to have a co-signer in your application who is employed and has good credit. And repayment terms vary depending on how much you borrow. So if you borrow less than $5,000, you have 1 year to pay it off, $5,000 to $10,000, 2 years, $10,000 to $15,000, 3 years, $15,000 to $20,000, 4 years, and then $20,000 to $30,000, 5 years. So I'm going to show you an examples of how the repayment will work. And then you'll get continued support from myself. I work with a lot of internationally trained health professionals, and I assist them in finding, alternative careers related to their profession, as well as assisting them with the loan so that they could secure their long-term goal in Canada and go through the licensing process in Canada. So these are the eligible expenses: qualification assessment fees, association and examination fees, tuition, books and material, short-term bridging program, travel expenses, living expenses, and a new career path in an alternative career. So all of this could be covered under the loan to a maximum of $30,000. So an example of the bridging program is the one offered at University of Toronto for pharmacists. We've had a few individuals go for that program. It's around $15,000. So they've requested a $15,000 loan to help them pay for that training. So now I'll just go to Meridian Credit Union's website just to show you how the repayment works so you can have an understanding of that. So I'm just going to reshare my screen. And again, if you do have any questions, please let me know in the Q&A. So I will start with most healthcare professionals go for the 30,000, but I'll just start with 5,000 for now. So with 5,000, you would have 2 years to pay it off. Like, let's just say it's an examination fees and prep school. So your monthly payments would be $220.48 every month for 2 years. And your total interest for $5,000 will be $291. It is an open loan. You could pay it off at any time. There is no penalty and you'll save on the interest. But if you can only afford to pay the monthly payments, then you would be paying the fixed monthly payments of $220.48 every month for 2 years. And this is for a $5,000 loan. For $10,000, you would have 3 years to pay this off. So your monthly payments for $10,000 will be approximately $302 every month for 3 years. And your total interest on $10,000 is less than $1,000. It's only $871. Again, that $871 is split up over 3 years, and it's included in your monthly payments. It's still an open loan. You can pay it off at any time, no penalty, and you will save on the interest. For a $15,000 loan, you would have 4 years to pay this off. Your monthly payments for $15,000 would be $348.85 every month for 4 years, and the total interest will be $1,745. Again, open loan, you can pay it off at any time, no penalty, and you'll save on the interest. And then I'll show you 20,000 and 30,000. So that would be 5 years to pay it off. Your monthly payments for $20,000 is $382.02 every month for 5 years, and the total interest would be $2,921. That's for $20,000. And then 30,000, it's still 5 years. The monthly payments is much higher. It's $573 every month for 5 years, and total interest on $30,000 is $4,382. So again, like most of the doctors, dentists, pharmacists do go for the maximum, which is $30,000, but you don't have to. I mean, you can go for whatever you can afford. And again, the last thing we want is for you to go into more debt. So we want it to be affordable for you, for yourself, as well as the bank. So the bank will do an income to debt ratio to make sure you can afford this extra monthly payments. I'm just going to go back to my presentation. So there's 2 documents that are provided to the bank. One is a learning plan that breaks down the fees for tuition, books, laptop, examination fees, prep school, living allowance, etc. And the other one is a loan assessment that has to do with your income, your household income, and any other expenses that you might have. So mortgage, car payments, MasterCard, Visa card, line of credit, all of those are provided to the bank. And the bank is Meridian Credit Union. And these are the documents you would have to bring to the bank. Your SIN number, valid ID, $1 to open up a bank account, because now the money will be deposited into this new bank account and you'll use that to pay for whatever fees you need to pay for. And then on a monthly basis, you'll be paying it back. Address verification, notice of assessment. Again, if you've been in Canada less than a year, you won't have this document. But if you've been in Canada more than a year, you're supposed to be doing your taxes, so you will have to provide your notice of assessment. Bank statements, at least 3 months of bank statements, and then your most recent Visa card, MasterCard, line of credit, etc. And then if you are employed, a letter of employment plus 2 recent pay stubs. If you're not employed, your co-signer would have to provide a letter of employment plus 2 recent pay stubs. We have had situations where individuals had substantial savings. So in that case, they weren't employed, they were new to Canada, and the savings were enough for them to be approved for a loan. But in those situations, the loan was like less than $5,000. And this is just a client testimonial. He is an internationally trained neurosurgeon, and he applied for a loan. He went through the licensing process, and I'm happy to say he is now a licensed neurosurgeon in Canada. So I'm just going to share his testimonial.
So I connected with my career and training counselor, Ms. Shobana, from the Accelerating Career Advancement Program at Achev. And Shobana guided me through the process of application and completed my financial assessment. The application was submitted, it had been approved by the bank, and I got my other loan. I have been gone through the exit exams. The grace of God, I completed all the requirements and final exit exams successfully to get the licensed surgeon in Canada. I highly recommend the Accelerating Career Advancement Program at Achev.
So that's just his story. He went through the licensing process. He started in during COVID, so around 2020. But then this year in March, he called me and told me he's now a licensed neurosurgeon in Canada. And I was the first one he called to tell because I helped him get that educational loan, which helped him start the process in Canada. Oops. So that's basically our process. So I did put a link to our intake form in the website. So in the chat. So if you're interested in the educational loan, you can click on that link. It'll directly take you to an intake form and you can start the process. So the 3 documents that I will require from you is your resume. And I'm just going to put my email address here so you can send that to me. Resume, residency status in Canada, and your education from outside of Canada, just because that's our funders guidelines. And once I receive that, then we can start the actual loan assessment to go through the process. And that's it for me. All right, so I'm just going to go to the Q&A. Okay, so is someone with a work permit under the Kuwait's program eligible for this program? So I'm not sure, with the mentorship program, are they eligible?
Okay. I thought that message was for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what that quit program is.
It's from Ukraine, individuals from Ukraine.
Okay. Oh, all right. So as long as they're living in Canada and they're seeking to integrate into the Canadian healthcare system, then they're eligible for the mentorship program.
Okay, so with our educational loan, until you start the process to become a PR, and this is not the federally funded guidelines, it's actually Meridian Credit Union's guidelines. Individuals on Q8 status must start the process to become a PR and get notification that they've been approved. Then only they can pursue a loan. That's Meridian Credit Union's guidelines, so we just have to follow that. Any other questions? Someone's asking, is it possible to have an address of one leadership or mentor?
Okay, so address of leadership or
Yeah, can you elaborate that question? We don't really understand what it means. And there's another question in the chat. Do refugee claimants qualify for the mentorship program?
yes.
Yeah. So regarding the mentorship program, they don't have to have any status in Canada.
You don't need to, well, you need to have a legal status in Canada. Once you have a legal status in Canada, then you're eligible to join the program.
Okay. And what is the first step for registration?
The first step for registration is just to scan that QR code, review the information, and then fill the mentee application form.
And I think that's it.
Was there an edit to that question?
Oh, no, that was it, I think. Oh, was there? I didn't see.
Okay, so Achev, Shabana, I think, would you like to take that one?
Oh, okay. Can Pegasus or Achieve help with full-time job placement? So yes, with our program, there's 2 parts to our program. One is the loan program and one is the one-on-one career counseling. So we can assist in helping you find a job related to your targeted profession. So yes, we can. And again, it would be the same 3 documents I posted there. I would still need your resume, your residency status in Canada, and your education from outside of Canada. You can send that to me in an email. Great. I think that's it for the questions. I just want to thank all the participants for attending today and for all the questions. It was great questions. Thank you to Dwight for explaining the mentorship program. I'm sure you'll get a lot of referrals today from this webinar. A lot of individuals will contact you today. Again, if there's any questions, please, what's the email? It's in the chat. So if you just look in the chat, the email is there. Dwight, do you want to add your email as well?
Yes, I'm adding that to the chat as well.
Okay, so both our email addresses are there. And just keep in mind, we're 2 different programs, 2 different organizations. So if you want mentorship, contact Dwight. If you need a loan, contact me. If you need both, contact both of us. Yeah, his email address is there. I'm just going to make it to everyone. All right, thank you, Dwight, for attending today's presentation, and thank you to all the participants as well.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
And to all our lovely attendees, thank you so much for listening and for your questions.
Yes, and his name is Dwight. Someone's asked me your name.
Switch. Okay, got that.
Yeah, and the webinar recording will be sent out towards the end of the day, so you'll receive it, not the presentation, but just the recording. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.